Episode 16 About Being Right. At my first job out of college, I learned a lot. I say this in a good and bad way. I learned a lot about pay per click marketing, but I also learned how horrible people can be. While it was an excellent job and experience overall, the environment was very toxic. In this type of environment, your ego does everything in its power to protect you from people who are trying to sabotage your livelihood. If you have ever worked for a fairly large company, you may have encountered this scenario quite often where the other employees will do anything to make themselves stand out. It's a management nightmare, to say the least. The CEO of the company that I worked for was very hands on and tried his best to alleviate the ego power trips and other nonsense that unfortunately occurs in this type of scenario. While I don't remember the exact issue that I was dealing with, I do remember that my idea for fixing the issue was right. And everyone who was involved with this issue would be livid that the new 20 something year old right out of college entry level marketer could solve this problem, which it was a very significant one. The type of problem that if you solve it, you will get a promotion. The CEO pulled me aside and asked me what I thought the solution was. I explained the technical stuff regarding the issue and my solution for it. Great, he said. So just do that. I got very quiet for a bit while I calculated in my head how to explain to him that everyone else on the team would never accept my idea unless it was theirs. There was a lot of revenue that would be lost if we did not resolve the issue quickly. On top of that, since I knew what I was doing and I was at least 10 years younger than them, it would basically put a bullseye on me as the next person to get fired for no reason. I was in my early 20s working with a bunch of people in their late 30s and early 40s. All they wanted from me was tedious entry level work, which is what they hired me for. The last thing that they wanted was for me to be right about something like this. It was around 2007 or 2008 at the time, and technology, especially for marketing, had quickly evolved, and most people in their age range were just trying to keep up so that they could keep their jobs. The younger employees who were hired right out of college for the entry level marketing jobs were not supposed to know more than them. Also, the economy was really bad, so everyone was trying their best just to keep their jobs. It was a mess, basically. The CEO noticed that I was having a tough time in my own head, and so without making me tell him what he already knew, he said one of the best things that anyone has ever said to me. It's not about being right, it's about being smart, he said, with a comforting smile. I smiled back and gave him a nod. I knew what I had to do. During our meetings and emails to discuss the current issue that we were trying to solve, I dropped little hints here and there, and without the rest of the team realizing it, I taught them how to fix the problem themselves. I made myself the least amount of a threat as possible. It worked. I stayed at that company for 7.5 years by being smart and doing the best job that I could. It was very difficult at times, and quite a few times I found myself really wanting to be right. But here's the thing about being right: sometimes it can cost you a lot. It can cost you relationships, your job, all kinds of things. Being smart? Now that's something worth being. Being right is easy. Being smart takes a special kind of patience. The human being's greatest enemy is the ego. The ego causes us all kinds of grief, but the ego operates solely on that feeling that you get when you're right. And not just like the, oh yeah, I'm right and everyone agrees with me. It's that, haha, I'm right. That feeling is the ego. You see, nobody likes to be proved wrong. Reasoning, providing facts, etc., those are agreeable terms regardless of how anyone feels about it. In business, it's a bit easier because it's all in the numbers. In personal situations, it's about coming to a mutual agreement without making the other person wrong. And anyway, you don't want to be that person who always has to be right. No one really likes discussing anything or working with someone who always has to be right. The trick is to focus on the most favorable resolution of the issue, and not just for you, but for everyone who is involved. Give yourself perspective of the other people who are involved. Imagine how they would feel with how you present your solutions, and when you come to a solution that works for everyone, then you be smart and go with that one. There's always a bigger fish in the pond. There's always someone who's going to be smarter, stronger, and just better at something than you. But if you keep your ego in check and act intelligently, then everyone wins. And remember, smart people are way more enjoyable to be around and work with rather than someone who always has to be right. Don't put others down in order to elevate yourself. Meet them halfway instead. Also, if you're currently experiencing a scenario like I described, while you hang in there by being smart instead of right, try to find a better environment to work in. Environments like the one that I described are not good for anyone.